intro?
No, I did last one, dude.
No, you didn't. You didn't do the Pokemon one. I did.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
I feel like I did the last one.
Yeah. You prepped this doc. This
I
document.
just straight up ripped it from. I just copied the last one. I'll do the intro again though. I don't care. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Backlog Breakdown. I'm one of your hosts, Nate, and apparently it's my turn to do the intro. We just made it really awkward and super weird. And yes, Josh was pointing out that he's like, "You prepped the doc," and I'm like, "Yes, I did." But I think I made a mistake. Anyways, but welcome back to another episode of the Backlog Breakdown, a video game podcast where we seek to encourage and equip the church to engage the medium of video games wisely and well. I am,
Yeah, man.
as I said before, one of your hosts, Nate, and with me today is my co-host, my friend, and my brother in Christ, Joshua.
Howdy there, folks.
Whoa, what's that about, dude?
I don't know. It just I don't know. It just popped into my head. I'm a Texan. What can I say? That's what I can say is howdy. But hello.
Howdy.
It is just the
Hello.
two of us
It
this
is
evening.
Just
so.
two of us.
I know you guys have grown accustomed to having guests on and things like that, but this time around it is just us two. But,
I mean, most of our episodes, it's just us. Like,
I mean, the majority of them, yes, but here lately, we've been. I mean, it's probably like 2 episodes with guests for every one we've been.
no, that's okay.
So
That's okay.
that's what you get.
Well, we were making sure that we got all of our patron sort of
Yes, buttoning up
stuff.
the patron games. Yeah.
Buttoning all that stuff up.
And we did it. We made it. We played the patron games.
Basically played all the games kind of
Basically.
sort of.
Basically. Yeah.
Essentially, that's kind of what we did, sort of. But yeah, I guess, you know what, Josh, I'm going to ask you a question, but like, here's the reality that it's been just about a week since I last spoke to you.
Yes, that's true.
I don't even, has it been a full week?
No.
Yeah. So yeah, it hasn't even been a full week since we last spoke to you. Since I last spoke to you, since we last spoke to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing good. For some reason, having a stuffy nose during this recording, and only during this recording, it has not been a thing. Anyways, that nasally, you're just gonna get nasally Josh tonight. Sorry, that's
the
just
Godzilla
what's gonna happen.
PBR
but
that you crushed before.
I guess so. This thing, it just, it just attacks my sinuses. I don't know what to say.
Little tiny Godzillas are just hanging out in your sinus cavities, like wreaking havoc,
destroying it. Yeah, I'm not sure that's how Godzilla works, is by getting tiny. Usually, it's the opposite of that. Anyways, one of the things that I wanted to bring up that has happened in the interim since we had last spoken to each other is actually last night. My wife and I went out and saw Les Miserables. We were offered some tickets because some people had picked up some tickets for it's like full-on Broadway production downtown Des Moines, but they weren't able to make it, and so they offered to give them to us, and so we took them up on that and threw the kids at some friends and went and saw the stage play, and it was really good. Stage play, musical,
Have you ever seen it before? Have you ever seen anything like that before?
I have seen one other musical. Come to find out that it was not like full Broadway production. It was a pared down version of it, so that you had less people kind of playing. And I did find it interesting. There was no live orchestra at this event. There was a conductor, but there was no one in the pit, and there wasn't really much room for a pit. So I'm pretty sure it was all pre-recorded instruments. And I thought it seemed as though when it started out that the singing was recorded as well, but it was not. They were just that good. So it was a great time. So much talent on the stage between the voices, but also like the backdrops and the sets and the music, or excuse me, not the music, but the lighting was amazing as well. The way that they create, all these different things on stage. So we had a great time. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And
That reminds me of the time a few years ago for our anniversary, I took Megan to go see Wicked.
okay,
Um and it was a full-blown sort of thing. But I got tickets through Ticketmaster and I felt like really smart. Like I was like, dude, this is going to be awesome. This is like such
yeah,
a good present. But the venue that we got the tickets for didn't actually sell tickets through Ticketmaster. So we basically
okay.
bought like um pirate like
Scalped
they
tickets.
weren't scalped though. Like
Okay,
basically somebody sold us these seats that tickets had been purchased for, and then when we went, they fixed like they gave us like so basically we got somebody else's seats.
okay,
And there was like this whole like kerfuffle and like yeah, it was a mess. And
huh? Wow,
yeah, so um
that's
but
lame.
yeah,
I'm sorry
I
to hear
felt
that.
kind of bad for that dude because he was pretty upset.
Okay,
But I was also like, yeah, I paid a bunch of money, so I'm also not gonna like get too bent out of shape over
these are
this.
also my seats. So,
These are also my seats. And I mean, technically, like, now I did like, here's the thing is if we had to leave or whatever, because they didn't make us leave. They got him. I think they got him like better seats because of
okay, cool.
so I think he got taken care of like okay. But he also like here's my thing is like we booked like that whole like we booked a hotel and so like we went
Okay,
early.
yeah.
Like we went early enough to like get all the thing like to get like something to drink or whatever. And like this dude rolled in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes after like the curtains. You know what I'm saying? Like the show had started and he came in
Oh,
and
oh, wow.
I was like, so I don't know if he got held up at like the door or whatever because of this or
Okay,
whatever, but like, but also like, I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, there's kind of like show
yeah.
up
We've
at
kind of
least on
been here.
time,
Yeah.
and we probably would have sorted this out like earlier. But
Right. Right. That sounds like it would be disruptive. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's
that's a
it
shame.
was just weird.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a whole weird night thing. But it's like, dude,
Odd.
like I was like, I like me personally, I want to be in my seat and
Yeah.
like just ready to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
I actually saw Les Mis on Broadway, um,
Nice.
years ago, years and
That's
years
cool.
ago. Like, it was a school thing. I also saw Phantom on Broadway, I think.
Okay. Okay. Dang.
So like
That's
two of the
intense,
big
dude.
ones.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm not really, I'm not huge on musicals, but there are a few that I do really like.
mhm,
And I mean, okay, there are some issues with the story, at least. I've never read the book. So Victor Hugo, sorry. So I
mhm.
don't know if there's some more nuance. I'm sure there's quite a bit more nuance to the actual story. Um, yeah, I can nitpick some things about the story itself, but it makes for some very beautiful moments on
Yeah,
stage. So yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time.
dude. Yeah, the production on that stuff is always like really fun, and it's just like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
dude, wild.
and they have kids, obviously Cosette, but also with the Revolution guys. There's like kid. Anyways, there were some kids that I was super impressed with. Maybe they weren't as like perfect pitch as the rest of the cast, but
Mm.
my goodness, they could act and hit their marks, and I was very impressed. So,
Yeah, dude,
anyways, that was a good time. That's what I've been. That's
cool.
how I've been. How have you been, sir?
Pretty good. So, dude, like Yuki, our red and white husky,
Uh
she's
huh.
I think 9 years old at this point in time.
Okay.
And she had gotten out. I think I told the story maybe with you and Wes about how like she got out of her the yard twice.
And you had to
She did,
carry her back. Yeah.
yeah, she did it again. So three times in the
No.
last week, this
Ugh.
dog has like gotten out. So tomorrow I have the day off, and I'm home with Byron, and we're going to make a run out to Lowe's, and I'm going to basically buy like $250 worth of pavers, and I'm going
Yep.
to block all that stuff off, like, because I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm a little disgusted with that dog. But
Oh, sorry, man.
but it's like, and then she's like limping around the house, and I'm like, I don't feel bad for you. Like, I just want to kick you in the head because you suck. Like, because like Megan calls
Don't do
me.
that.
No, I'm not gonna do that. Megan calls me yesterday on Saturday, um, and she's getting ready to take Byron to, like, some friends of hers were throwing Byron like a little birthday thing, right?
Mhm.
Um, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to walk out the door," and I look, and she's like, kind of like, she's like, "Yuki's nowhere to be found," and just
Uh,
it's just like, and I'm at work, so it's like I can't do anything to help you here. Like, you're just like, I said, well, trying, and she found her before she left, but it's just like, yeah, it's like, you stupid dog, you're so stupid. And now, and it makes it more inconvenient because it's like, now you have to like go and like actively watch her in the yard and then bring her back in the house, and it's like,
right. Right.
it's like,
Yep.
this is super. And you can tell she doesn't want to be back in the house. She's like, I want to hang out in the yard. And I'm like, well,
Uh,
you done ruined that. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Can't
until
trust the
I get these
dog.
pavers in, and even then, I'm going to be watching you
Yeah,
like a hawk for a while, you
exactly.
know, because it's like, I have zero interest in sort of running you down again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No joke.
stupid dog. But
Fun.
dude, and the thing is, it has been years. And then she's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get out.
No, I'm gonna do this.
I'm gonna do this now." And, and I'm like, so you're arthritic. You have like a bad leg.
Oh.
Sick. Like, awesome dog.
Ay, ay, ay. Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're doing pretty good. Just I've worked this week, and then I'm off the week of Thanksgiving. So yeah, I'm
Sweet.
kind of like, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be kind of cool. Hopefully, get some stuff done.
Yeah. Nice.
But oh man, but yeah, we're just not
Starting off strong, man.
starting off strong. Yeah, it's dude, it's gonna have to wind this up. Just laying the plane now. 'Cause
That's how it
I'm
goes.
shot. But I think, Josh, it's time to. I think we might have some experiences to share.
Oh, that's right. We've got, yeah, lots to share.
Press start, what's on your mind? Books. Tracks, the best we can find. Cue it up, we're ready to play. Sharing the loot in a brand new way. XP Share. Plug in, let's go. Drop your favorites, let the pixels glow. XP Share. We're leveling up. Turn the page, hit play. Crank it up.
That's right. XP Share, where we share some experiences. Now, I don't have that. Well, my experiences to share, my media that I've been partaking in, it is not very varied. It's not very eclectic. I'm trying to think of the proper word, and I cannot, for the life of me, think about it. But it all comes from one place, and that place is YouTube. So I've just got some things to recommend, and as I'm looking back at just what I've been into, it's YouTube. It's YouTube channels. So the first thing, and it's actually video game related, would be the channel Video Games 101. This has helped me in finishing some of the games that I have been playing, which we'll get to in just a little bit. It's kind of in one way, it's kind of low production quality because it's like one guy that plays through old games and he tells you the best strategies for old games. But he'll have different segments as if they were different people, as if he has a team and he's teaching a class. That's why it's Video Games 101. So he'll have, Gary who beats down the bosses and tells you the best strategy for the bosses. And he just like puts on a mask, you know,
Mm.
and changes his voice a little bit. So it's like one guy doing these different things. It's like low production quality, but he actually, like you can tell he put some time into this thing. So anyways, Video Games 101, it's fun to check out if you want some strategies for old games, primarily NES games is like what I've been watching. But again, well, I'll circle back around to that when we actually talk about video games. Another video game YouTuber is RNG Gamer. This is a guy who he is a collector. So if you're listening to this podcast trying to learn how to beat down your backlog, this recommendation is not for you necessarily, because this guy has like thousands of games in his collection. So he has like tons of rare games, and it seems like he has a good amount of spending money as well. But it's interesting to hear from someone from I'd say a little bit older than I am, but who's been playing old games for longer than I have as well, and just to hear his takes on things, and as he goes and looks for different games and things like that. He's just a good guy. Seems like a salt of the earth kind of guy, but also knows his way around some video games. He's called RNG Gamer because he plays his games randomly. He has
Mm.
an enormous backlog of games. He live streams. I haven't watched any of his live streams. He just kind of talks about, like, he takes those games that he plays during those live streams and makes videos about them, if that makes sense. So, yeah, he's just been fun. I've been watching a lot of his stuff kind of on in the background. The last recommendation, and this will circle around to later in the episode when I get to a shout out. But this is another YouTube channel. It is called Drumeo. That's drums, like a drum kit, and then the letters EO. It's primarily made for teaching people how to play the drums, in getting better at drums. It makes me wish that I played the drums. It makes me wish that I spent a lot of time getting good at the drums, because what they will do is they will bring on drummers from different bands, and they'll do like playthroughs of their different songs. And I found they did one for the Josh Eppert, who is the drummer for Coheed and Cambria. And so he plays through like 4 or 5 Coheed and Cambria songs. And my goodness, he's weird because he plays I don't know what it's called. I think it's open-handed. That might not be the right term, but basically he doesn't cross his arms when he plays. He plays open, so he hits the hi-hat with his left hand and the snare with his right hand.
Mm.
So he does things weird, but also I hadn't recognized some of the things that he does where it makes it sound like he's playing a double kick at sometimes, and he's not. He only has he has the one uh, um, kick drum, obviously, but it's not a double pedal. So anyways, it's sick. It makes, like I said, makes me wish that I was any good at drums at all. But it's fun to watch
Hmm.
really good drummers play some really sick stuff. So Drumeo is my other recommendation. Those are some YouTube channels that I've been into. But so those are my experiences to share today.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I don't. Also, I have some, but they're not super substantial here. I
Okay.
actually have to look up my phone. So there's
Ooh.
one that it's just like I can't speak to the entirety of the album, but
Okay.
there's an album called Nostalgia by Amalee, AMA
Okay.
capital Lee, and it's a bunch of covers from like anime. And the only reason I
Okay.
listened to this because I was like a Cruel Angel's thesis.
Right. Right.
We were talking about that, and I was like, I actually do want to listen to this. So I listened, but I'm pretty sure she sings in English.
Okay.
So it's a translated version, but it's actually a really cool cover. But there's like a whole bunch of kind of got me on like this thing where it's like she does the theme song for Escaflowne or
Okay.
Escaflowne. And I was like, oh, I want to try and watch Escaflowne now. And it's like, but you can't watch that anywhere. But she does the Pokemon
Huh.
theme, um, the uh, the Cruel Angel's thesis, blah 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 blah. So it's some video game music in there and stuff. I don't know. It's whatever. Like I was just like, it's a pretty cool cover. Like
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the album a little bit. I'm not gonna say it's like amazing, but it's just like I've kind of been like listening to it in background. Um,
Yeah.
Also, I watched the Futo PI movie.
Yeah.
Because I really like that show, The Portrait of Kamen Rider Skull,
Mhm.
and it just came to Crunchyroll. I still have an active Crunchyroll sub for like a couple weeks now.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, okay. So this is on there, and I started watching that again, and or I started watching that, and I was like, I enjoyed it. It was that's a great show. That's it. Like that show is so stinking good. Um,
Nice.
I also started, and I'm not, I'm this is like the briefest of asides, but
Mhm.
what the heck is it called now? So I'm gonna have to Google this, and I know this is like the best, the best. Once,
It's not about miso soup, is it?
no, or accidentally falling in love with miso soup once to
Mhm.
be.
That's an inside joke for everyone listening. It's one of the conversations that we were having with some friends in the Discord about how ridiculous anime has gotten.
Yeah, so it's called Tojima Wants to Be Kamen Rider. Now,
Okay.
um, it's basically like, and I actually like, I low key love it. It's not even a super visually striking anime. And there's a character in particular who is like super fan servicey.
Oh, okay.
Not super obscenely. I don't know. Like it's just, but it's a dude basically. He grows up and he wants to, and this isn't even like one of my hard recommends. I'm just saying like I fell in love with this. I was like watched like 3 or 4 episodes last night. Stayed up
Okay.
entirely too late watching this. Um, fell asleep on the couch watching it actually, kind of deal. Um, but it's a dude. He's like, as a kid, he wanted to grow up and be like Kamen Rider, and like grow up and be Kamen Rider. So he like
Mhm.
trained himself to fight, and he's like super strong and all this. But he's like a 40-year-old man, and he's just like he's kind of a like he grows up and he never outgrows this dream, right? And he's just like, and he's a beast. Like there's a scene where
Okay.
it shows him like in like junior high, and he just like he gets the crap kicked out of him, but then he stands back up and he just like levels these dudes. So
Nice.
he's like kind of like hardcore. Um, but anyways, these dudes start like robbing convenience stores, and they're doing like the common like the opposition, like they go yee, and they do like the enemy salute and everything. And like anyways, it just kind of like turns this thing where he's essentially Kamen Rider, but if Kamen Rider
Mhm.
were like a 40-year-old dude having a
Yeah.
midlife crisis, and it was kind of in real life, and it is the most unhinged thing, and I love it
Yeah.
because they're meeting these characters. So like the one character, the one who's fan servicey, she's a girl who loved the show because of a character Tackle, who was like a female hero. Like
Okay.
that helped Kamen Rider, right? And so she dresses like Tackle, like she has an outfit and everything. And
Okay.
she's also like she's very strong and very proficient in like martial arts or whatever. But what she does is like she just changes right in public. Like so she gets like she strips down to her underwear to put on her tack suit, and and so that's like the fan servicey part where it's like, and
Yeah.
she's obviously like super busty, because that's Japan just has to like make it weird.
Sure. Yep.
um
Yep.
but the show is just like so unhinged. It's about these people who are like essentially like mentally ill, but
Yeah.
then it does like this I want to say like there was a show called like Samurai Flamenco or something like that, where like
Okay.
this dude like kind of like it was kind of like it was like I'm pretty sure that's, but anyways, it kind of has like a twist where it's like parts of the thing are coming true, where it's like they start
Okay.
running
Yeah.
into actual members of Shockers, and anyway, which is like the
Yeah.
enemy faction, the bad guys. Anyways, yeah, it's it's not awesome, but I
Mhm.
love the energy. Like I'm like this is
Yeah.
actually like really really clever. So, in like, because like it's a subversion, but it's also like I'm watching it and I'm like, this is actually like kind of like a Kamen Rider anime too, because it kind of is. It's
Yeah.
really weird. It's like
Yeah. You can tell it's made by people who love the show.
well, yeah, but even like, so it's like, yes, it's all about these people like who are kind of obsessed with Kamen Rider, but like, and they kind of like step into it like doing like bootleg versions, but it's also, I don't know, it's kind of like the way that Bakuman is a shonen, where it's like it's kind of like hitting all the tropes, but it's also kind of fun. Anyways, but yeah, Tojima wants to be Kamen Rider is kind of like really funny, and I
Nice.
love it. But I also, the thing I was actually going to talk about, and I'll just mention briefly, is I did listen to All Star Superman on Audible, as per
Okay.
Wesley's sort of recommendation. It's cool. Like I liked when Audible did the Sandman collections. Like I thought
Okay.
those were
Yeah.
like, because they turn them into audio dramas, and it's like they just do like, whoever's doing that over at DC is like doing bang up work. Like it's
Nice.
really pretty good. Like it's really pretty enjoyable to listen. And this is what I will say is like All Star Superman has some really weird art choices at times. So,
Oh,
but
okay. Okay.
but yeah, the actual comic book graphic
Right.
novel,
Right.
like, yeah,
Yes, I didn't think you were critiquing the artwork of the Audible
audio book. I don't know.
audio
Some
drama.
weirdos might. Some people are not very smart, Josh. Yeah. I wasn't insinuating anything about you. I'm just,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. So that's kind of like in the last week, like that. Those are like the bits of interesting media that I've come across.
Sweet.
So yeah,
Nice.
but we are a video game podcast,
Yes,
and we like to talk
that we
about the
are.
things that we've been playing. And
Mhm.
I'll just kind of kick us off because, like, here's the deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't played anything really except for more Pokemon
Okay.
Arceus, because a couple of crybabies were like, "Oh, you didn't even unlock Braviary. You can't actually have an informed opinion about the game." So I kept playing, and now I can't stop because my weird obsessive compulsive garbage has gotten in the way, and it's like
Mm,
there are Pokemon that
mm.
I want to catch now, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, so thank you. You've infected, you and Wesley have infected me with the brain rot. And
Mm,
Braviary, massively overhyped. He is better than all the other mounts in the game.
mhm.
But it's not like the flying is like an awesome transformative experience. Like it's
Sure.
fine. It's functional.
Yeah.
It does the thing. But yeah. So I'm still at -6 or whatever I was at before.
'Kay.
Um yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
gonna be
haven't.
fun to go back and listen to that episode because I don't remember ever saying that you can't have an informed opinion
Oh dude,
without getting that far. Um,
it,
yeah. Anyways, well,
Wesley pretty
the
much
record will
expressly
be
said that,
corrected.
and I think that you were like, you said something along the lines, but like, you hardly played it or something
What?
obnoxious like that.
No, Braviary is definitely the last traversal
Whatever,
method in the
whatever.
game,
All I
but it is
know is
by
that
far
there
the
was
best.
that you and, or maybe that was it was. I know Wes like tried to shame me, kind of
I
did shame
understand
me.
that you felt that way. I just think it would be interesting to go back and hear what
We'll
was
go back.
actually
We'll
said.
go back and
But
listen, and then I'm going to
yes.
ask the question: am I wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so that's just playing more Arceus, and I don't know why.
Because you love it. Yeah, so I have
Yeah.
played and finished, and this is where I was talking about that video games 101 is I did finish up Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos on the original Nintendo. I did use save states in order to do so because this game hates you. The difficulty in a lot of Nintendo games, it's not just this one, but the difficulty throughout the game, it requires memorization in order to progress, and
Hmm.
without the save states, that means a lot of doing over a lot of what you have already done. So I use the save states to help me so
Yeah.
that I don't have to go back and do over too much.
Yeah, that era of NES game design was really pretty
It's
not
some of the
awesome.
parts are brutal. Like even with save states, it could be pretty frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get I might just not be a very good gamer. I get also the way that I'm playing it. It introduces a little bit of lag that may not have been on original hardware with the CRT TV. Okay, all those things aside, though, man, they really try and kind of stick in the because Ninja Gaiden is one of those games where as soon as you back up because the screen scrolls with you. It's not like original Mario Brothers where you can't go back. You can go back. However, enemies appear
Yeah.
at set points when the screen
And when
scrolls.
you
And
go
so
past that, it resets the spawn.
yes.
Mhm.
You can use that to your advantage sometimes. You have an enemy swoop down at you and go to the back of the screen, and if it goes off screen, okay, it's dead. It's not going to come back. But more often than not, it has to do with like you back off from an enemy and then it respawns.
Mhm.
So, and just the careful, some pixel perfect nature of some of these things, and then the boss fights. And yeah, the game is very difficult by today's standards. It is not necessarily, NES games. There's a lot of them that are difficult as well. Uh, some people would say there's a fairness to the game because it does allow you to have unlimited lives or at least excuse me unlimited continues, so it does things to encourage you to want to keep playing, but my goodness, it is difficult. So video games 101 certainly came in handy
Mm.
with my the way that I approached the game. I will say I never use save states within boss battles. Like I only use them to go back to the beginning of a boss battle or something like that. So, and that's intentional just because of the way that I wanted to play the game. So I did finish that game, which nets me a -1. However, that also finishes up my locked and loaded list for the year, which means I get an additional -10 because the way that our locked and loaded list, I had 10 of them on there. And so because they're all finished by the end of the year, I get an additional -10, which is pretty awesome. And so I've got some extra some space for the new year. I was looking over games that I own and games that I would want to play somewhat soon. And because I finished up BioShock Infinite, taking a look at our top 100 list, I noticed there's some games on there that I don't currently own and went to eBay and picked up a copy of God of War Ragnarok. Now, technically, I don't have it in hand yet. And so I'm hoping that, everything is on the up and up with it, that I don't have to return it or anything like that. But assuming that I don't have to return it, that gets me a +1, which takes my total to -23 for the year, which is pretty nice. In addition, what I have been playing now that my locked and loaded list is knocked out for the year, I started up because of all this Pokemon talk. You're just talking about how much you love Pokemon dearly now, how your
Mm.
whole your mind and your soul has been changed by the wonders of Pokemon. No, I was actually gifted last
Mm.
year by my lead pastor at the church. He picked up a copy of this game and got sent 2 copies, and so he gave me one. Pokemon Heart Gold on Nintendo DS. I've been playing that
Mm.
on my 3DS, and so it's fun. It is definitely a cozy game. It is slow. Going back to games like this, especially after playing something like Ninja Gaiden, I wish I could, emulate it so that I could speed it up a little bit. But at the same time, it allows me to just kind of it feels very cozy because of how slow that it is. So, having a good time in that. I'm on the second gym. I haven't actually gotten the badge from the second gym leader yet, but yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
time. So that's where I'm at so far. Those are some things that I enjoy, and if you enjoy this podcast, we would appreciate it if you like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff if you're watching on YouTube, or just share us with your friends. Tell people, hey, there's a podcast out there that helps me so that I can play video games more wisely, and well. and that helps me beat down my backlog. Just, let people share the love. We would love it if you shared the love. So share the love. Other ways that you can support us if you want to support us is that we actually have a Patreon. It's just like a tip jar. We don't require anything there, but there are some perks with that. If you want to throw us a couple bucks or whatever, we do have an extra podcast that we do where we just hang out. We talk about whatever comes to mind, whether that's food or Pokemon or the way that we do our beatdown. These are all things that we just talked about in our previous Brian. Things like that. It could run the gamut from a number of different things, whatever comes to mind. That podcast is there for our patrons. You get to help shape the future of the podcast, some of the things that we talk about, some of the games that we're playing. Come join us over at patreon.com/the backlog breakdown if you're interested in that. But if you're interested in other things that we may like, we're also a part of the Play Well Network, where there are a number of other podcasts there that, similar to what we do here, they want to help you think about things that you play, entertainment, and to do so in a manner that is more that is richer and deeper instead of just on a surface level. There are friends that have these podcasts. We like what they're doing. So here's a word from one of those guys.
Do you think that this is like a really close-up shot of two small crabs, or were those really big crabs?
How do you know they're even real?
They're imaginary crabs. Jimpleton, please tell me we can go look for imaginary crabs. Can we?
How would you look for something that's imaginary?
Oh, that's the best thing to look for. War has come to Krynn, a war building for centuries as dragons and gods drift into myth and legend. This is the war that will bring an end to it all, or restore what was lost for good. Dragonlance, The Thorns of War, is an actual play Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Available everywhere in May. Subscribe today.
Hey guys, Nate here real quick with a kind of a pickup. Wanted to clarify when Josh and I were recording late last night. And I threw out some numbers that upon further reflection weren't accurate. I think at one point in time I made the claim that Xbox has 10 million series users. That number is actually estimated to be about 28 to 29 million. So that's a pretty big miss there, but that's in comparison to I think the 87 or 88 estimated PS5s in the wild. So it's again a 2.5, almost three times sort of size of the market that Microsoft or that Sony has captured in comparison to Microsoft when it comes to console gaming. Another thing is that we talked briefly about monthly active users, and I stand by the claim that that's kind of a nonsense number. It doesn't mean nothing, but I don't think it means nearly as much as Microsoft would like us to believe, in the sense that like it has some like, and I think this goes to like the TikTok, sort of, fighting for your attention kind of model that Josh and I talk about in the episode proper. But they have an estimated 500 million monthly active users, and that's up from 2024 where they had an estimated 200 million. And I think those numbers are specific to what's called the Xbox or the Microsoft gaming platform. Now, keep in mind, they picked up almost 350 million. I think it's as of November 2025, there's 84.2 million PlayStation 5s sold worldwide. So there's that. So that number. And again, we don't have numbers, but fairly reliable reporting sort of indicates that we don't have numbers from Microsoft about how many series consoles have been sold. Most of them have been S's from what I understand. And then, but that number is, reportedly, there was somebody like an insider actually made the claim that it was less than 30 million. So there's that. Okay, so the monthly active user thing, and this is from Reddit, but so somebody asked the question in Reddit, like how much of that is King phone games and Call of Duty though? So Activision brought 92 million monthly active users, of which 90 million are from Call of Duty. Brought Blizzard brought 26 million from World of Warcraft, and then 238 million from King, which is Candy Crush, um, essentially. Other mobile gaming too. So, and that's from a 2023 report. Like, so that number may even be higher than this. But with the ABK purchase, they basically purchased 360 million monthly active users. And what I would say is that some of those are paying, but there's, especially in that mobile space, you're not you're you're not getting money from all of those people with any sort of consistency. Now, I would say that you don't need a very large percentage of that to, if you can capture $1 a month from those users, and you're probably capturing from each one of those users. Now, you're probably capturing like $20, but from like 10, 50, or maybe 10, $15 from maybe 20 or 30 or 50%. It's still a significant amount of money, like, but it's not, again, it's sort of a nonsense number in the sense that it doesn't actually give you any indication of value or the monetary worth of this. So I did want to, like I said, I did want to clarify. And like I said, when we were talking about the series consoles, specifically, we talked about like the Steam machine. I want to preface all of this. We talk about a lot of things. All of this is sort of speculative, and I'm not guaranteeing anything. Frankly speaking, I think that a lot of people look at Microsoft's data in the console gaming space and they see that as indicative. And I make this argument pretty early on in the episodes of this. It's only the mildest of spoilers. There's a lot there. Like I said, I'm just issuing corrections here. So I got some of the numbers wrong, but I still think the core tenets of my argument stand, is that, that, and if you want to see all of that, just listen to the rest of the show. It's a shorter one. So anyways, thanks for taking the time, guys. Hey, thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for rating and reviewing, doing all those things. We, in a lot of ways, we would still be doing this, but you, the listening audience, the watching audience, like, you guys actually make this way more worthwhile and way more fun. So thanks for that. Thank you for all your support, and enjoy the episode, guys. Right. Bye-bye. And we're back. So tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about, well, we're going to be primarily responding to a link to a video. We're going to be responding kind of to a YouTube video by a guy named Clayton Morris. He had a video on on what he perceives as a video game bubble. And, full disclosure, I don't think he's entirely wrong. I also think that there's a good bit in there that I just don't think like he has a full understanding of the market. Now, I'm not an economist, I'm just an enthusiast, but I do I have been paying attention to the industry for a while. And so some of that was like, I watched the video. I don't disagree with some of what he said, but I do the short version of it, and we should probably put a link to his video in the show notes, whatever.
Yeah.
So that people can, and I don't even remember what he called anyways, the link for that will be in the show notes. You guys can check that out. And again, I don't think it's all bad. I think, in some ways he does use this as an opportunity to call for like course correction. I don't think the video, but his whole premise is that he thinks kind of the video game industry is just headed for a bit of a collapse, or a bit of like and not just like a dip or like a course correction. But he kind of basically says, like, if things don't change, it's going to be bad. We're going to go
Yep.
back to the dark times.
The title of the video, I just pulled it up, is "The video game industry is collapsing and no one is ready." So, bit of a clickbaity title there
Yeah.
for sure. That definitely comes on more strong than the video itself. Yeah, we'll talk about it in just a bit. I sent this video to Nate because there were a few things in it that I found interesting, even though it wasn't necessarily like, hey, we need to, have a respond to everything here. It was actually just a few concepts that I was like, oh, that's interesting. And how does that affect me? And, kind of the future of games as well. And it does bring up some legitimate questions. But I think, Nate, you're probably more savvy in terms of the video game industry than I am. I'm much more of just a player than,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun to kick around.
Yeah, and it will be. And again, I do want to just sort of say, like, I don't think everything that some of what he posits is actually pretty good. Like, I do kind of
Mhm.
agree with like his position on just like, basically that some of these studios have been throwing, like, Sony notoriously, what's the one that was like out for like a week and a half, 2 weeks,
Concord.
Yep. Like $400 million or something like that, just down the tubes. Right. So
That is crazy, dude.
there are concerns that I think he's sort of like rightfully sort of like
Mhm.
lays, points a finger and says, hey, like the budgets are kind of growing. My biggest problem is that one of the things that he's sort of like he gets stuck on is the fact that Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft,
Mhm.
said that he didn't really see Sony or Nintendo as being competitors. And he actually looked at like TikTok as competition for the Xbox brand. And I just think like and he says like that's kind of like the inciting incident for him, is like he hears that and that
Mhm.
raises like kind of
Right.
like flags for him. And my response to that is like, well, that's part of your problem right there. And it's like, is that, within the last couple of years, like Sony and Nintendo have been doing really well for themselves. Like Sony has had a really good
Okay.
year. I mean, even with the fact that like they're yes, the PS5 sales are lagging behind PS4 sales, but they have a higher attach rate and they're extracting more
Okay.
money. Like, there are economic reports that I've read and seen that they're extracting more value per console than they were in the PS4 era, right? So they're making enough money. And the PS4 era, the PS4 console cycle, the PS4 console is still alive. And so that's still a vibrant economy for them. They're doing fine. They've had some really serious missteps, right? At Concord, namely, this whole games as a service initiative has been a pretty big whatever.
Yeah.
And there's even kind of been like in this industry talk, like, because what's happened, and I'm going to kind of lay some of like where I think people just get this wrong, because we've been hearing about like the video game industry is collapsing. It's on a downward trend. It's like, no, there's
Mhm.
one company is on a downward trend. And that's because the thing that they did, what was supposed to be their big market disruptor, it failed. And they got too big. They flew too close to the sun. Their parent company sort of, and so what I'm saying is like Microsoft with Xbox, right? They actually haven't won. They haven't won a console cycle, like a console war cycle yet. They, between the 360 and the PS3, they actually pulled ahead for most of that gen. But
Right.
then when the numbers came out, it was like PS3s actually outsold 360s by a significant margin.
Yeah. After Sony righted the ship, because
After Sony
they
righted the
fumbled
ship.
that initial launch and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, to be fair, that's also in light of the fact that, and the 360, I'm not trying to throw shade at the 360. It was a heck of a machine. Like, they're even in light of the fact that like the red ring was like
Right. Yeah.
super
They were not
prevalent,
well made.
and
Yeah.
it like there was a lot of problems. I loved my 360. Like, I have nothing but fond memories of my 360 in that gen. I was actually primarily 360 gamer in that gen, and I came to the PS3 a lot later, right?
Yep.
So like but even there, they didn't win that one. They didn't win the PS4 Xbox One era was devastating for them because Microsoft completely mishandled that. And basically at that point in time, and that was like, and I think Phil Spencer was right when he said that was like one of the worst generations to possibly lose, because at that point, that was the point where like the sort of the much more the digital storefront, digital library stuff became pretty much cemented, right? So like we saw we saw that model sort of emerging in cell phones, right? And then it moves its way over into the console spaces. And Microsoft really they lost the fight on that one with the Xbox One. Then the series thing, again, like early on, it seemed like they weren't having the supply issues that PS5 was, all sorts of other things. But like we've seen where that got them, because at the end of it, it's like, you know, everybody, it's like they've basically become not basically, they are essentially the biggest third-party publisher. Most of their, if not all of their stuff, is going to work its way onto Sony and Nintendo platforms, and that's because that brand has been mishandled. You know, essentially, my argument there is that when Xbox Gaming acquired Activision Blizzard King, and they have a quarter where all of a sudden they make more money with Call of Duty than they do with Windows for a quarter. That gets attention, that raises eyebrows, and that draws eyes, right? So now they've got more attention on them, and that's a $70 billion acquisition. And so now it's kind of coming where it's like, hey, there's actually a good bit of money here. We're pivoting as a tech company, and this is the primary thing with all of this, is that one, I think part of the problem I have with his premise is he overstates Microsoft's importance as a video game, like in the video game space.
Okay.
Xbox has not been like a really dominant, like they've been outsold 2-1, 3-1 the last couple of console cycles. Like they're not a dominant force. They've been there, they've been in the space, and they're significant. Like, I mean, there's a 10, 20, 30 million, you know, user base, you know, I think it's like 10 million users, I think, on the Xbox Series stuff, which is not an insignificant amount of numbers.
Sure.
Right. That's 10 million users. But then you talk about attachment rates, all that other stuff. Here's the bottom line. So he's overstating their importance to the industry. Two, he's not taking into account that that Microsoft pretty much completely bungled the last two gens, and that Game Pass has turned out to be an absolute flop in a lot of ways. And they've had Microsoft has had to adjust Game Pass and how it works. They've actually had to step away. With Call of Duty, there's now basically that highest tier on the console side is now twice what it was, or 75% what it was. So those people are paying more per month to have day one access to Call of Duty, and
right.
And Microsoft first party games. And then those other tiers that some of those rights and privileges have been scaled back, because I think that the fact is it just, the math hasn't been mathing for a while, and you can kind of buffalo your way through that, but it's just proven out the gambit didn't work. Game Pass didn't disrupt the market appropriately. And because of that, and because of the ABK acquisition, at this point in time, Microsoft's Xbox's parent company is Microsoft, a tech firm, one of the biggest tech firms, right? Maybe the biggest tech firm, And so when Satya is saying this, right, he's looking at it like Microsoft and Xbox as a part of Microsoft. And they are looking for engagement. They're looking to sort of capitalize on this stuff. And so it's not like, the thing is, like, they've conceded the console war. The console space doesn't really matter to them the way that it does to Sony and Microsoft. And because of that,
Okay.
they're not going to be invested, and they're not going to be as big of players. Like, it is revenue, and they do care about that space as long as it makes them money.
Sure.
But even the way that they're making that money, because they basically started publishing all their stuff on the other platforms. And so what I'm saying is, like, you have to qualify that statement. And then, so when he
Okay.
says, like, when Satya is saying, like, we look at TikTok as our competitor, it's
their
telling
biggest
you, like,
competitor. Mhm.
their biggest competitor, like, they're playing a different game entirely. Because and that's, they're
Okay.
looking at just Microsoft as a company, as a tech giant, versus Xbox and Game Pass. Like,
Okay. Okay.
like, because Game Pass is directly, well, and at this point in time isn't competing. It's actually enriching its competition. Because here's the thing: is, like, for every copy of Call of Duty, like, in a lot of ways, Sony has lost almost nothing from Microsoft gaining, the ABK, gaining ABK, Activision Blizzard King, because Call of Duty still publishes on their platform. They're still getting a 30% rip on every copy of Call of Duty that sells on their platform. So, yeah, all that being said, I think so part of the problem, what I'm saying here is, like, so all of that information, right? All of that, what does that mean? He's using Microsoft and that statement from Satya in a way that isn't appropriate to the games industry. Because, again,
Mhm.
Nintendo and Sony have had banner years the last couple of years. They've done well.
Yeah.
Now, there have been, like, especially on Sony's behalf, there have been some pretty significant missteps. Again, Concord, the whole games as a service initiative, the $7 billion acquisition. I think it was $7 billion. Or maybe it was like $4 billion, but it was a lot of money
Okay.
to pick up Destiny or Bungie. And that's kind of been a giant fart, which
Yeah.
actually hurts me very deeply. I really, I actually, Destiny is like one of my favorite games I've played in a long time. Like, I
Mhm.
really fell in love with that game. And so it's like, there's just been a lot of, like, there's been a lot of weirdness
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
And there have been some pretty big, mistakes, like,
Mhm.
but it's not like this earth-shattering thing. Again, like, the numbers bear out that, yes, there's less consoles, but they're actually generating more revenue per console.
Yeah.
And so they're
Yeah.
not, and they're not, and here's the other thing is, like, they're not dependent on Microsoft. And well, I don't know, but it's like, the thing is, like, their portfolios are diverse enough, and the Game Pass, like, they're still selling plenty of games. That's the point. They're
Mhm.
still selling plenty of games, even in light of the price hikes, and even in light of all. And yes, there might be a bit of a downtick, because, frankly, I think the economy is kind of turning down, and there
Well,
does need
yeah.
some course correction does need to happen. Because I think
Yes.
the other thing, and he touched on it, he said he doesn't think it's this, but I do think a lot of the layoffs in the industry are essentially, like, what happened during COVID is there was a lot of money that they could borrow at a very low interest rate, right?
Yes.
And they used that money to just blow out their portfolio, but they completely overestimated, like, how pervasive the video game space, like, was going to happen. So what happened is, you have a bunch of people who are stuck at home, right, during COVID times.
Yeah.
They're playing more video games, right? They're
Right.
buying more video games because they're
Yep.
stuck at home,
Stuck at
and
home getting stimulus. Yeah.
getting stimmy money, right?
Yeah.
'Cause they're like, I need something to do, right? So you have all this, and the games industry, for whatever reason, with a few exceptions, primarily one of the biggest ones being Nintendo, actually scaled pretty reasonably during that time. But everybody else is like, there's just all this money, there's all this, like, this open market, and you've got to capture a piece, you know? And so they're all like throwing stuff at it, and they're trying to like carve out bigger pieces of what they think is like an exploding market. That was the bubble. And that
Mhm.
like that is going to be corrected, and that is
Yeah.
being corrected. And so a lot of the layoffs that we're seeing in the industry are corrections to that. And because Microsoft was one of the biggest, I mean,
Mhm.
70 again, they've spent probably almost like $80 billion total, if not more, in acquisitions, because we're talking about the first, second, and third wave of acquisitions. The first was the Double Fine and a lot like Obsidian and those
Mhm.
guys. The second was Bethesda, and the third was ABK. Right. And
Okay.
each one of those times they're spending more and more money to acquire those studios and those
Yeah.
developments, like all of those devs and publishers, culminating in the ABK acquisition, which was I think like $67 billion or something like that. It was it was the largest acquisition. And so it's like, again, he's kind of going off this, and some of it he even says it's like anecdotal. He's like, this is what I see, and this is what,
Right.
and it's like, yeah, you can take that stuff into account too, like your personal experiences, but that doesn't paint. So I think he just has a bad picture of like the economics of it all. And
Well, it's a combination of things, and actually, I think he's not looking at just video games themselves. So consumer spending is down,
yeah,
across the board. And so now it's interesting to see
and
that hasn't.
subscription services spending is on a decline too.
Right, right, yes, in
Who
general.
has a gaming subscription service?
Well, I mean, there are subscriptions for all of the services, but Game Pass is the most prevalent for
That's the
sure.
most prevalent one, and they
Yeah,
also jacked up their prices not too long ago.
right, exactly.
And so
And
it's like, and they're the most dependent on that revenue.
yeah, yeah. And that's the convergence, I think, that's interesting to give a bit of a pause. I agree it's a bit sensational. No,
hmm
I think it's
And
overly sensational
again,
to
I don't
say that
think
there's
he's
a
all
collapse.
wrong.
Yeah.
I just think he's overstating his position.
Yeah, I also just this weekend I watched a video. It was Spawnwave and Matt Piscatella, I believe his
hmm
name is, from Circana, that was talking about just kind of the trends in the video game industry. And I didn't know this, but I believe Clayton brought this out in his video as well. But that basically the video games industry obviously did really well in 2020.
hmm
2021 was the best year for the video game industry in general, but since then it has declined.
hmm
It's not declining year over year, but just that, hey, there was a spike in 2021, and since then
Which
it's gone down.
makes
And
sense.
right, yes, it totally does make sense. You're right, but and then there's a ton of spending on the back end, and like you
Mm-hmm.
said, it's cheap to borrow money and things like that. Now it seems like a lot of those gambits aren't paying off,
Mm-hmm.
and it is not that video games are a struggling industry. However, it's not a growth industry.
It's stagnant.
Um, right.
Mm-hmm.
Combined with the fact that you also see um, where the console market is going. And this is where I think this is what was interesting to me is when he talked about, okay, TikTok is kind of our biggest competitor. I think there's something there because the console market, while consoles are selling very well, they are selling to people who have extra money,
Mm-hmm.
which is older people. The
Yes.
console market is a market for us, for people
Yes.
30 and above. Younger people are not buying as many consoles. The industry is shifting, okay? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where I find this to be the most interesting is what does this mean for the future of games? Is it a collapse? No, not necessarily. It doesn't mean that it has to be a collapse, but it is interesting that if you think about and I think I do also see a trend, okay, in Gen Z, probably Gen Alpha as well, a trend away from some of the addictive nature of short form content and well, maybe not short form content, but just social media in general. Some of the things that I would say us millennials had kind of got knee deep in
Mhm.
without realizing how addictive it is. I do think there is a growing generation that wants more physical, things. That wants a life that like sees the emptiness of a disembodied life. I'd say in general. So I'm saying that all these things are factors, and it's interesting. Okay, how are they all going to converge and congeal? I don't think it's going to put anyone out of business necessarily, but I do think that there is something to be said about the way that we engage with video games if they're not immediately as if they're longer burns, if they're slower burns, that is not going to make as much money, I don't think, in the long haul
Yeah.
for video games, because video games, even as an industry, I mean, the top games are what make most of the money in the
Well, and
industry. We know that as well.
so there are like 10 games that make like 70% of the money in
Right.
video games. Like
Yeah.
it's like the Fortnites, the
Yeah.
Roblox, the Minecrafts,
GTA
all that,
5. Yeah.
GTA 5.
Even
Like
Candy Crush.
those titans, they
Yeah.
make the money, and
Yeah.
everybody else is sort of like fighting for scraps in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Like um but part of it though too is like, so I think he's right. There is sort of right and even what Sadia might be saying too is that like
Mhm.
ultimately it's all a fight for your time, right?
Right. Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's reasonable, right?
Mhm.
But here's the thing: a lot of what Clayton says is like, and it was like, and he says, "I'm not trying to be like get off my yard." No, but what he was doing is like, it was better back in my day, and it was like, no, it was different
Mhm.
back in your day. Like,
Mhm.
we talked about like the NES era of like games and like the
Yeah.
challenge of that and all that
Right.
stuff. And it's like, it doesn't mean that those games were better; they were just different. Like
Yes.
we can like, and in some
I
ways,
I don't want a landscape of all NES hard video games. I don't.
don't.
Like I said, I played Ninja Gaiden 2 with save states. I like that modern convenience.
And that's what I'm saying is that like I think what he's noticing without recognizing that he's noticing is that the medium is evolving, and there's gonna
Mhm.
I think so. Like I'm one of those people that video games are art, right? And just
Yeah.
like every other art form, they kind of go through growth phases, right? And we've
Mhm.
had some that are really like they're still kind of like they're there's inflections and they're still growing and they're still evolving. So it's like books, like literature, like yes, there's the forms are pretty much static, but there's always new books being written, always sort of like interesting ideas. You know what I'm saying? Like movies, same thing. Like as a general rule, like the movie templates have sort of all been carved out. Like, and occasionally there's like an oddball or whatever, and
Mhm.
something is like nobody has ever seen anything like this before. I think in a lot of ways, that's what we're experiencing. We're
Okay.
sort of, we're in the midst of sort of video games, sort of, because they are this weird sort of like they are art, but they're also sort of like kind of science, and they're also sort of a commercial enterprise, right? And it's like they're this
Sure.
weird conflux of things. And so I think that like there's we're in a bit of just like a sea change in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
but I don't think that means and some things like he talked about like the digital libraries, digital marketplaces and everything else like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, but you and I have talked about like the dangers of that ad nauseum,
Sure. Yeah.
and it's like, but unfortunately I don't think we're going back from that. Like
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to be. I think publishers would love to get you on a digital only kind of thing,
Mhm.
but I think that there will be like enough sort of resistance that there will be, I think at least for another gen or two, there will be sort of, I mean, like here, okay, this is the way I'm looking at it.
Mhm.
We still sell Blu-rays, right?
Some stores do. A lot of them have, but
You
yes.
can,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you can still buy Blu-rays. You can buy
Yes.
them at stores. You can buy them off of Amazon.
Right.
I think that we're going to move more towards that model where it's like
Yeah.
physical will still be available, maybe not as widely, um, and it will still be an option, but it's never like
Yeah.
So I think like even there, it's like, and again, I understand the concerns and everything else. Yes, the developer, the publisher obviously wants you. They want the consumer to be just completely dependent on them, because if you're in their economy, like if you're on Nintendo and you go to the Nintendo store and you buy a game, Nintendo gets a 25 to 30% rip on any
Sure.
game you buy out of their store. Same with Sony. And it's like I said with Call of Duty, like Sony is not really sad about that. They were only getting 30% before. They're still just getting 30%. But 30% of 30 million units is a bunch of money,
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I don't think it's going away. I also don't think it means the death of physical media. This is like, I guess like
Right.
part of it is
Right.
as somebody who's sort of been paying attention to the industry for the last 25, 30 years of my life, right? Now, some of that but we've seen this. We've seen this time again, like something kind of like some emergent technology, or so there's some so significant change. It's like mobile phones, like the iPhone comes out, right? And it's like you can play games on your iPhone. Phone gaming, mobile gaming is going to kill consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens. Like
Right.
the console space is now, it is stagnant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It certainly had an effect.
it certainly had an effect. But like the reality is like, I think, and again, some of the concerns he raised, I agree with. Like, yeah, I don't want everything to be digital only all the time. Like that puts entirely too much but some of his examples too. And there was one in particular, like it was like with these subservices, you're paying for the right. You can still buy a game through a digital storefront, right? And you're licensing the right to use that, ad infinitum, as long as you don't violate the EULA, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But if you sub to a game service or whatever, and it's like, those have rotating catalogs, and it's like they'll take games out of those that service, and they'll add new games in and stuff. So but it's never just like if you buy a game and all of a sudden like something happens on the back end. I think he used like Witcher 3. And he just said like, Witcher 3, it's not on that service anymore. It's not on the subservice anymore. So you don't have access to it anymore. But that's not guaranteed to you either. If you want guaranteed access to it, you need to pay the licensing fee to actually just buy the game digitally or physically. Like, and again, it's one of those things where like some of his points are, I was just like, dude, that's not how that works. But that being said, it is all a time. It is all plays for your attention. And I think Microsoft has really like gone after that, and they tried to do that with Game Pass. And I think that's Game Pass failed, and that's like, I think we can just say that Game Pass failed. Like if it was working, they wouldn't be raising the prices. If it was working, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Yeah. No, I don't think they ever hit the targets that they were looking for with Game Pass. And especially, I do think that also speaks to what you were saying earlier of, the impending digital future. While yes, things have changed. And yes, I think your average video game player is much more comfortable with owning digital games nowadays than they did 10 years ago. While all that is true, I do think Game Pass is kind of case in point that people don't just want a streaming service for video game. Like they want to own their games.
Yeah.
A step up from that is owning them digital, and the step up from that is owning them physical.
Yeah.
So I agree with you largely with your analogy with Blu-rays, that not everyone is going to want physical.
And I'm not going to buy just Blu-rays for everything. You know what I buy?
Right.
I buy the Blu-rays of the stuff that actually matters to me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I agree. And funny enough, when you're talking about movies, like when I see a movie that I like go on sale digitally for $5, like I'm probably gonna pick it up because it's $5,
It's
and that's
yeah.
kind of how my digital library is with my video games as
Now,
well.
if
When
I
I see a
see
season of a show for $15, like,
exactly,
yeah, I'll pick it up digitally. And you know what? In 10 years, I might not have access to it anymore, but it was also only $15 for
and
60 hours of
if
TV
it's
show.
something that's really like dear to you, what are you gonna
Right.
do? You're
You'll
gonna
go get
buy.
the physical copy.
You're
Yeah.
gonna go get the physical copy. And again, I'm just saying, like, it's like we have examples for these markets. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying that his concerns or whatever are completely unwarranted, but I think that the reality is that like the industry is just changing.
Right.
And I think that it doesn't mean it's collapsing. I think it is I do think it is in a sort of like evolve or die state.
Yeah.
I just think it's evolving and using using Microsoft as sort of an example is like it's just that like Xbox is a brand that has been completely mismanaged by that team. Like completely. Just and so
Yeah.
it's kind of like unfortunately it kind of like and I think like it'll be much healthier, much better like when they are pretty much just third-party publishers. I mean, they are
When
now.
everything is an Xbox.
Yeah. Ugh.
Because
Yeah,
they're
that
publishing on everything, so
because they're
everything
publishing
is
on anything.
therefore an Xbox,
And I
including the Steam box. That's an Xbox
including
too.
the Steam Machine, which I think is actually could be the disruptor. Like I
You
think
think so? Okay, so
I think
this
it
is
could be.
and just to preface
I'm
this,
I'm not saying it will be. I'm
all of you
saying
who are listening, who are watching, we had this like I had sent the original video weeks ago to Nate just to, hey, what are your thoughts on this? I think this brings up some interesting
mhm.
stuff, but it was only this past week that the Steam machines were announced, and I've been trying to wrap my head around it. So, anyways, this is a fun part of the conversation to me because it's not something I had anticipated.
No,
So
dude.
I think it'd be fun to just kind of dig into that a little bit, but we don't necessarily have to.
Well, no,
I
and
just
I think it's so and we'll get to actually before we get onto the Steam Machine.
okay, yeah,
We did have Dorian's comment, and I did just want to
yes,
like sort of like in our Discord, there was a bit of a conversation going on,
yep,
and patron friend of the show, I love him to death. Dorian, it's got like the best voice, like dude,
yeah,
just like like dude. Anytime he's on it,
sick
he
radio
just
voice, yep,
enriches an episode, just just one, just because he's a sweetheart, but also because like he's yeah, he's got like the best voice in the world. If I had those
yeah,
pipes, man, dude.
yeah,
If
and
I
he
had those
just
pipes,
100%ed Silk
Silk
Song,
Song. Yeah,
so
I
he's
saw
got
that.
gamer cred as well.
He's
It's
got
crazy.
the skills to pay
It's
the
crazy.
bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of doing it right. But there was a conversation and he made this comment. And I actually responded to his comment because I
Mhm.
don't necessarily agree with everything that he said. So some of it is what I want to address it is that and this is what he writes, that
Mhm.
competition has changed as the gaming landscape has and is changing. It used to be buy our box. We have these games no one else has. Sell a lot of boxes, sell a lot of games. Done. Which is still, I would say, like, I still think that's essentially how it works. Um,
Mhm.
but I think that the Switch and Switch 2 are brilliant examples of like how that's working. And again, and what I'm going to point out is that just because the Xbox failed doesn't mean that the other consoles are failing. It means the
Mhm.
Xbox failed, right?
Right,
Because
with the recognition that the video games industry is stagnant, is slowly,
yes,
getting
there's
better.
actually um a a guy that worked for Sony, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he basically sort of posited that he thinks there's about 300 million video game enthusiasts at any given time, and that number
Okay.
stays pretty flat.
Yeah.
And it's just everybody's fighting for those numbers. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and he raises the issue like and he goes on to say like now however especially with this new generation of kids it's all about make game, get in as many places as possible. Why? Because what matters to these kids is access rather than the exclusive proposition, especially when, Nintendo aside, neither PlayStation nor Xbox's games have moved a lot staying on a single platform. And again, I'm going to push back. PlayStation's like The Last of Us, I think, has sold 10 to 20 million units, which is pretty much the entirety of Xbox's installation base. Like the Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man for PS4, I want to say is 30 million plus. And I could be wrong. I'm going to
And
actually.
both those games are now on PC.
No,
right?
but that was before they moved to PC.
Right.
Okay.
But
See,
his
the
point
difference is,
stands that
but the difference is those move those numbers on a console.
yeah,
See, the thing
sure.
is, whereas Xbox adopted the PC strategy in order to inflate their numbers, right?
Okay.
Whereas I think basically they were trying to kind of like they boost their numbers much earlier on, right? Because I'm going to say something, and maybe while the PC gaming space is like the most hardcore, and there are way more PC gamers out there, they're also one of the least. It's not a super big market. Some of the most successful companies there, right? Steam being one of them, and again, we'll come full circle. Now, Steam's revenue is we've done an episode on this.
Well, sure, yeah. They're overall, yeah, it's insane.
Steam's estimated value and revenue is fairly inconsequential when it comes to even Sony's.
Oh, okay.
Like Sony makes hundreds of billions of dollars, and Steam does not make that. They still make a lot of money, but they're also a much smaller company. So what I'm saying is that
I'm sorry,
I think
Sony Video Games or
yes.
Sony as a company themselves.
Sony's primary revenue
generator
generator is video games.
Okay.
That's where they make the bulk of their money. The profit margins on their tech. Well, and again, it's not that they don't make money in other areas, but again, what are the other pillars of Sony's industry? Of Sony's, it's electronics, so they do make money there, but the overhead on that is usually pretty low. The markup on electronics is usually pretty low, but it's movies and music. We know that the video game industry makes more money than movies, than all film, all television, and music 2 times over, I think. Something like that. So it's like
sorry,
the video game.
You said hundreds of billions of dollars. Sony's current market cap is 187 billion, according to Google right now.
Okay,
so when you say hundreds
plus,
of billion, it makes hundreds of billions.
200,
that's ridiculous when the whole company is not even worth 2. And I don't mean that to downplay. I'm just saying if we're trying to gauge and compare companies, you can't say that it makes hundreds of billions. That's all.
Dude, okay, so it makes $190 billion a year. Or
no, that is how much the company is worth. That's not how much it makes a year.
But
not nearly.
Well, okay. But its market value in comparison to
Steam.
To Steam's is
yeah.
And they make more. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They make significantly more money than Steam does. And again, Steam is being the most premier. So it's what I'm saying is that the PC gaming market is vastly overstated.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. The PC gamers, I'm trying to think of a way to say this. It's much more about quantity than amount of money.
Also, the piracy scene in the PC space is
exactly it's not. Yeah, it doesn't make as much money overall, and because PC only the most hardcore of PC gamers buy new day one games. Most wait for sale. Yeah, I agree.
That
with
was
you.
the point
it's a very
that I'm
different,
making.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that it's a different it's. The console space is the most lucrative space when it comes to games, period. Okay, that's the point I was making with all of that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
cool.
So, want to go back to
Dorian.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was, sorry, trying to finish your sentence there. Is that what you wanted to go back to?
Yes,
Was what
yeah,
Dorian
but
was saying.
anyways,
Yeah.
so he talks about by staying, they haven't moved a lot, staying on a single platform. And again, Microsoft has that problem.
Mhm.
Like Sony could sustain
Okay.
themselves.
Yeah.
This
That's
is
what you're
what I'm
saying.
saying is that
Mhm.
Sony's actually making enough money. Like now, granted, you can say that their first party output has been abysmal, which I would agree with you. I think they have a real cadence problem there, like
Mhm.
just as far as like first party development goes. But that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter remains is that they're still doing quite well for
Mhm.
themselves.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Xbox realized this years ago, and Sony is recognizing this as well. See, and that's where again I'm going to sort of like offer pushback. I think Xbox has had to really like chew out the PC space because they basically haven't been able to carve out a space in the console space. And maybe video games are moving into that direction, right?
Mhm.
Right, where it is more about access. But I don't think that's a necessity, and I don't think that's an actually a foregone conclusion. I think it's a bet that Microsoft is making. Just like
Yeah.
Game Pass was a bet. Like that market is growing,
Mhm.
but again, I don't know how much more of that is like it kind of goes to that anyways. It's but
Yeah.
the
Is
way
it
Sony
really gonna
engages with
move the
PC
needle? Yeah.
gaming is different. Is they
Mhm.
extract the value on the primary platform, and then when they've made that money, then they're like, "Hey, it's time for a PC port."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
No,
additive.
yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I think the kind of what we didn't address though is one of the reasons, like you're saying Xbox, has incorporated PC simply because they weren't doing well on their consoles. Well, I think it's also that Microsoft knows PC because it
And that's their
is
home.
PC. Like,
That's their
yeah,
home.
that's
Yeah.
Windows. So like that makes sense strategy
Yes.
wise as a company. But I do see what you're saying though, because they haven't been doing well on consoles in a few generations. And I agree as well. It does seem like the Sony strategy I agree with you to make it on their
And I'll
console
tell you
first,
what,
so they
I will
are
sing
still
a
console
totally
forward.
different tune when slash if slash when a Sony first party game comes day and date to PC. I
Hmm.
will sing a
Hmm.
completely different tune.
Yeah,
But I'm like at that point in time I'll be like, nope, okay, there's
yeah,
something in there. But it's like the fact is that their ecosystem is vibrant enough that they can sort of say like, no, it's not coming to PC until a year or two out until we've extracted sort of like max value.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah,
so
the rest of Dorian's comment just seemed to carry that out. I can read it here.
well, I wanted to touch
Yeah.
on the monthly active users thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing, like Xbox touted we have this many MAUs and
Hmm.
monthly active users. That's the MAU. They are important because that gives you a gauge of who's using your box
Hmm.
or who's using your economy or who's in your ecosystem, right? But that doesn't necessarily guarantee revenue, right? So I'm not
Hmm.
saying that's an inconsequential number, but like the thing is Microsoft would talk about like 4 million people, 10 million people played, Halo on this day or whatever, or like whatever, they tout off some number and you never saw how many units got actually sold because
Hmm.
a lot of those
Right.
were probably
Right.
covered by the subscription. So they weren't really making money on that. They were making
Yep.
money on the subservice and everything. And that's what I'm saying is that the importance of monthly active users has been grossly overstated.
Sure.
And that's sort of a metric that's thrown out there to say like, no, this matters. And yes, it does matter because again, it gives you sort of a head count of how many people are engaging with this. But that's no indicator of actual revenue generated. You can't draw any sort of reliable conclusions about like how many purchases were made, or 1 million units, like if you have 4 million people playing your game and not a single one of them paid market price for it, you've essentially made no money on those people. Even if you're getting the subscription fee, but you also have to give them access to all of that other stuff that you're paying to maintain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
oh yeah. You're saying Starfield.
I'm
yes.
yes.
I know. I understand.
I'm not,
what
and
you're
I'm
saying.
not trying to be mean.
Right.
And again,
right.
it comes back to the entire thing is like this sort of, people are like, well, Microsoft is doing it because X, Y, and Z. No, Microsoft is doing this because, one, the previous gameits didn't work, because they lost they did lose the console war.
Yeah.
It's not that the console space isn't relevant. The console space is changing. I'll give you that. And it is growing, and the whole scene is changing.
Yeah.
But the reason Microsoft is doing these things is because they haven't been able to get a foothold in. And frankly, I think the focus of that initiative has just moved, because they're like, this doesn't make sense for us, because I'm going to tell you, I think if they had more of the market, they'd be doing things differently.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyways, so all that's being said is like, and I think like what's going to happen is like, I think there's a future, honestly, where the Steam machine eats Microsoft's lunch here, because, and this is this is the reason I think is like, the problem is Microsoft's coming at this, what the Steam machine is doing from the other side. They're moving their 10 million sort of like fan base, and they want to move them into a more PC centric kind of like model. Right. And so they're basically, I think the next Xbox is good. Like, even with the handhelds, the ROG Ally Series S and X.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Those are handheld PCs that run a version of Windows that is optimized for gaming. And then it's got sort of like an Xbox overlay. Whereas, like, and now granted, there was a Steam box years ago that was an abysmal failure. We can talk about that a little bit if you want to. I think there's a lot of problems there, but the fact is Steam has kind of figured out the hardware stuff with the Steam Deck. They are probably in the handheld PC gaming space. The Steam Deck is the most prevalent one. And again, that is still a very niche market, though.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But what I would say is that, because what I'm going to tell you is like a console gamer who sort of dabbles in PC, which I think a lot of console gamers do, like myself, like you, like some of the people that we know and that listen to the show. This is very appealing, because all of a sudden it's going to be all that Steam library on my TV. And I can just, and so it's like, whereas I think like sort of, so they're kind of actually doing it from the other side. And I think they're sort of trying to get a bit of a jump on Microsoft, because Microsoft's coming for their space. Steam has pretty much been uncontested in the PC space. And again, we talked about how that market is smaller.
Yeah.
And Epic wasn't able to do it with their store. Lots of other marketplaces have emerged that really can't put a dent in Steam. What I would say is Microsoft gaming has enough clout and enough tech savvy and enough money to maybe wear them down. So
when you say wear them down, what do you mean by that?
Like, they might be the ones that can, like, financially just sort of like wear them down. It's basically, it's going to be a war of attrition, like the PC space is. And and frankly, Microsoft has a much larger war chest, and if leveraged right, they could be a series, could present an existential threat to Steam.
Interesting. I feel like just Windows in general, Windows gaming, Xbox now, whatever. It feels very different than Steam.
It does.
And maybe it's just in the Steam that I've accumulated has been, or focused around those sales and things like that, as opposed to the latest and greatest kind of thing, which of course
Mm-hmm.
that stuff is always like front and center on Steam, of course, but sales are as well. I feel like Xbox would have to adopt a different strategy in order to compete with Steam there. It
I
just
don't think
seems like
they're.
they're going after different markets almost, a different
I
kind
don't
of
think that.
gamer.
I don't think it's a different market. I think they're trying to peel away that
Yeah.
they have to.
Yeah.
They have to peel away some of that market,
Yeah.
and
It's yeah. It's
I
it,
don't
it's
know.
just interesting to think about if like them two directly competing, because I feel like Xbox would have to drastically drop the prices of a lot of their games,
I think.
but I don't
I
know
think
that they can
Xbox
do
is
that while they have a console.
pushing. I think Xbox is pushing. Well, no, I mean their stuff goes on sale all the time.
Sure.
Um, but I do think Xbox is pushing people towards a more PC oriented sort of
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm saying though is like what the Steam machine sort of represents is that instead of coming at like creating a console type platform from ground zero, they're actually kind of coming at it from backward. Like they're going to have a pre-existing library. Like you're going to get your Steam machine and you're not going to need to worry about like, what am I going to play on this on day one?
Hmm.
Whatever, however many thousands of Steam games you already own or are available
Yeah.
on the Steam, in the Steam
Oh,
storefront.
okay, but that like frankly, that doesn't sound like a very good business venture if you're saying we are marketing this to our current customers.
No, they're not marketing to their current customers. They're
But that's what
marketing
you
it to
just
people.
said, the people
No,
who
they're
have a Steam
marketing it to
library.
people. They're marketing it to, well, I don't use my Steam library. What I'm saying is they're marketing it to people who sort of exist on the fringes. Like you have Steam,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
have Steam.
Yeah. Mhm.
If you have that box sitting underneath your television,
Yeah.
and instead of on your laptop where it's
Mhm.
sort of an afterthought, but it's the primary driver right there. That's what I'm saying is like, I think there are a bunch of people who are kind of like, they're kind of getting some of those people who have been a little like Steam curious to, borrow
Sure.
that, or people who want to move out of maybe the console space, but aren't really ready to jump in whole hog. And I
Yeah.
think,
That just seems like a really small market.
it's going to be a little bit bigger. That I think there are people who don't want to own just a Switch or just an Xbox or just a PlayStation.
Sure.
And I think that, again, like it's going to be providing, I think it's going to be a smaller market, but I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a healthier market than, because what they're doing is they're bringing the Steam experience to your TV, which that's what console gaming does. Console gaming is ease of access. You
Right.
put in the disc, you don't have to worry about updating drivers, any of that nonsense. It should work. You put in the disc, you turn the game on, whatever. You bring that to the consumers, like they could pick up a bunch of basically homeless people in the console space, like the console spaces. And then it's sort of a machine where it's like you can play most of the new stuff, and it goes on sale fairly frequently. Like, dude, that it's going to. I think it's going to do better than we think, or at least it has potential. So
Yeah.
I'm not guaranteeing that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, I think it could be a bigger disruptor than like Xbox ever was, because it solved a lot of the problems. And hopefully, I think Valve's a bunch of savvy people, and I think they've probably been watching Xbox. If they're getting
Mhm.
into this space, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
In general, I will say personally, I am much more skeptical because of previous Steam machines. I
Well,
think in theory, yes, it should just
the
work.
biggest problem with the previous, so talking about the previous Steam machine, right? The
Uh-huh.
biggest problem was you had multiple manufacturers, and
Yeah.
that some Steam machine, there wasn't like a coherent design language. This time, Valve is handling all the manufacturing.
Okay.
They brought that all internal.
Okay.
So you're going to have a uniform device.
Yeah.
You know, and they've done that. They've done, again, it's a niche market, but the
Right.
Steam Deck has done well for them.
Yes.
And I think
It has, according to Google earlier this year, it was 4 million units. So yes, that is better than they expected, but that's still very small.
it's very small, but that's their first
Sure.
serious entry into the
Sure.
market.
Yep.
I'm saying, like, you know, people who like their Steam Deck, and there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of
Right.
big ifs. Like price, I think, is the biggest one.
Sure.
This thing comes out for anything more than $500-$600, it's dead in the water. Like,
Yeah.
you almost have to, like, I think, like, and there's a lot of reasons I think it could work. I think this thing has to be a pretty hefty piece of tech. And I don't know that they necessarily need to recapture. Like, I think they might be willing to sell this at a loss because they know they'll make it up on the back end, which was the old model. It's like,
Right.
sell the hardware at a loss, make it up on the back end with software.
Yeah.
And again,
yeah, I'm again, well, from where I am, I'm just very skeptical because I don't know. It seems like it's a very small market. I said this in the Discord as well, is it seems to me like if you want Steam on your TV, you can do that right now. You can make your PC and do that. And I think
but there's a lot of extra steps.
Sure. Yes, there is. But the end result will be very similar. Now, all that said, I think the piece that perhaps this might be a little bit early. I'm trying to think of the proper term. This could be the way that video games are going. As Dorian points out, you know, that kids aren't as tied to the console as much as they are the game. You know, they're Fortnite players. They're not Switch players. You know what I mean? They're Roblox players. So whether it's on their tablet or whether it's on their laptop or whether it's on their Switch, like I don't know, is Roblox on Switch? I don't know. I'm sure it is in some, or whether it's on Xbox, whatever.
I think that begs a question. Like, that makes the assumption too that, like, these things like Fortnite and Roblox will survive indefinitely. Fortnite might. Roblox though has been operating at a loss for years, and I think, like,
dude, and there's they also here lately have gotten into a lot of.
So I think they're kind of
Roblox.
I think their day, Roblox's day is coming.
Yeah.
And
yes, I'm just saying, if a generation is coming, if a generation of gamers who is not tied to consoles or manufacturers, I could see them wanting something more similar to like a Steam box or Steam machine or whatever it's called, because they want just kind of. I was gonna say the latest and greatest. The latest meme game.
They want
is what I mean.
the broadest possible access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That factor is kind of the wild card to me.
It has
so
all
this
the strengths
might be
of
coming
PC gaming.
too early.
All the strengths of PC gaming with almost none of the drawbacks.
That's on paper. That's true. We'll see 8 years down the road.
Execution
when you're having to deal
matters.
With yeah.
Execution matters. But what I'm saying is, like, all of the benefits of PC gaming without any of the hassle. Like, you get that same marketplace with, you don't have to worry about updating drivers. I think you can even make this thing like semi-modular and make it really easy to, like, because, like, you can.
That's even more like a piece. Again, that blows my mind. That idea blows my mind because I'm just like,
I think the only thing you need to worry about is, like, updating RAM and, you know, hard memory, like, in the sense, because, like, you can brute force with enough RAM. You can brute force. I mean, that's what the Series S and X did.
Sure. I would say if I were, you know, telling Gabe what to do, which of course I wouldn't. So take this with a grain
we wouldn't
of salt.
even make it. We wouldn't even make it past the, you know, the reception desk.
Right.
But
I would sooner go for a trade-in program than I would a modular kit.
That, or you do sort of like a 7-year sort of like cycle refresh. You make it sort of future proof enough now.
Yeah.
That, like, you sort of you push it as hard as you can now without sort of breaking the bank.
Yeah.
Right. And that way in 5, 6, 7 years, when it actually starts slowing down, starts catching, things start, make it last longer than an average PC or like laptop, which has like, I think a 3 to 5 year life cycle, or a phone. Like make them
Gosh,
make
yeah.
them last longer than that.
Mhm.
And you're probably going to have some sort of a win. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's interesting because like it feels like Valve is like the one company that could sort of break into this from the other side
Mhm.
and actually be a meaningful disruption. I'm not saying it will be.
Yeah.
I think they've sort of got everything in their favor. In the sense that like they've already kind of learned some lessons from the first failed Steam Machine kind of
Mhm.
scenario. They've had some fairly decent success with Steam Deck. And I think like basically like Steam is a PC titan. It is like the preferred marketplace for a lot of people. Has a lot of really great quality of life services already involved, like friends lists. There's an achievement. It has an achievement
Sure.
system. Like all of that stuff. It's there. It's baked in.
I wonder if it's because I'm still, guys, I'm still wrapping my head around this. I wonder if it's in the marketing that could really make it, is like making people aware of this thing. Because I will say, like, despite the overall low amount of numbers for Steam Deck, and I don't mean that to put it down. I just mean that it has not broken through into the
It's a
mainstream
core.
at
It's a core
all.
game. It's a
It's
core
an
gaming machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, gaming
Uh,
enthusiasts know about it and use
right.
it.
But I would say almost universally, everyone that I have heard who has picked one up has liked it very much so. I
And
don't
again,
know of hardly anyone that has been meh, whatever, or taken it back, almost
and
immediately.
that's
So
where
there are some positive things to it. I'm still skeptical that they can break through. Perhaps if they do a marketing push, perhaps if they get some sort of tie-in at GameStops. They have marquees. Can you imagine a Steambox marquee at Target or something like that? Now I'm thinking old school. Like if they have a big marketing push and they get people, if people start to,
if they can crack the casuals,
yeah,
because like here's the thing is like you can play pretty much anything on there with
yeah,
the exception of exclusives. And even that,
mhm.
like Nintendo's gonna Nintendo. Like
Right,
listen,
right,
the reality is like Nintendo stuff is always good. Like short
yeah.
of them like
Their branching out recently have been theme parks and movies. they're not
yeah.
they're not concerned with putting out their games on
And
other
they never
systems.
drop
Yeah.
the prices of their games. Like
Yeah.
Nintendo's like
Hey,
here's the
they have some
reality.
Black Friday sales coming up.
And
I'm
you
kidding.
save $10 on a $70 game. Like
Yeah, yeah. I'm kidding around.
I'm just I
Nintendo's
guess
still on the top of the world. They
dude,
are
like
riding high on their
they are
success with everything. So,
I mean, I think like they crushed it with the Switch. It looks like they're going to crush it with Switch 2,
mhm.
you know. So like, and I think like the thing is like if Nintendo's just going to like I'm going to say this. I think Nintendo would rather go out of business than publish on somebody
Yeah,
else's
yeah. You're
platform.
right. You're right. Yeah.
And so like
It, well, it would take a radical shift in culture, which can
yes.
happen when presidents change over, or like CEOs and stuff like that. It can happen, but my goodness, not under their
I
current
don't think
regime.
and
But
I
they're
don't
also such an established company too. Yeah, I don't know.
well,
I don't know
I
what that
mean
would take.
and I think like that's the thing is like this isn't a foregone none of this is a foregone conclusion. That's the
Right,
thing is like yes, maybe
right.
the market is moving in these directions. But I'm going to tell you like honestly, and it's probably a lot easier to say this than it is. I think if like Sony can figure out a few things, like if they can get their studios on sort of like having like one big like tentpole first party sort of experience and then nailing some of those like second and third party exclusives like
Mhm.
per year, I think, and then I think just like and sort of stop. I don't know, man. Sony's like one of those things where I just they break my heart, because it's like there's a reality where it's like I kind of like I primarily game on PlayStation. That's
Sure.
like my primary. Well,
Yeah.
actually, no. Lately, it's been Switch too. Like, yeah,
Because Pokemon's on Switch.
because
so,
Pokemon's on
you
Switch
have to
too,
play
and I hate
Pokemon.
my life. Actually, I look for reasons to play my Switch too. So Xenoblade
Yeah.
Chronicles 3 is coming soon. Yeah, I knew that would get you kind of
Beautiful.
like,
Ah,
but
ah.
um, but I do think like they've sort of like the PS5 generation has been pretty mishandled. I don't
Okay.
think catastrophically so. I just think
No.
it's like it's been pretty bad, and there's stuff like that drives me nuts, because it's like they're looking for a games as a service hit. It's like you have Helldivers, so it's not Fortnite, but Fortnite wasn't Fortnite when it first
Right.
started.
Yeah.
So like,
You
hey,
remember back when it was a single player game?
or no, it was
And
yeah, it was a weird. I think it was
yeah.
it was a multiplayer game
Yeah.
at the beginning. It had a single player mode, but the battle royale
See,
stuff was added in later.
right. And that's what blew
Mm.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what blew up.
And look, I agree with you. I mean, I've been playing video games long enough that I know that Nintendo is not going to be riding high like this forever. Like it comes
Dude,
in waves. It's
we
gonna
lived through
be
the dark days, man. Like the
right.
Wii U, like before
My
the
goodness,
Switch,
when
we were
people were
like,
saying, "Oh, Nintendo's gonna, they're gonna have to sell out," and the people who like actually followed were like, "No, they still have a lot of money."
they got all that Wii, they got all that
The Wii
Wii
money, yeah,
FU money,
yeah,
where it's like they had
yeah,
so much money off the Wii,
yeah.
right? And
There,
they had massive commercial success. Like they were fine. Now the Wii U was a flop.
yeah,
It's unfortunate, because like I do think like I could go down a rabbit hole on that. I was like, I think it was just like that was such a poorly marketed machine, where it's like
sure,
nobody knew what
yeah,
it was. I was telling Parker, I said I worked at a GameStop, and people were asking me about the Wii U. I said, and information that I, as an employee of a video game store, had little to no information on the Wii U.
mm,
And it's like I didn't know for a few weeks at the very least whether it was a separate console, whether it was a peripheral,
oh wow,
like what it could do, what it couldn't do, because like Nintendo was pretty like just like prior to its release, they didn't talk a lot about it. It's like
yeah,
it's got a gamepad.
yeah.
Okay, can you take that gamepad
What does
somewhere
that mean?
else?
Yeah,
What does
yeah.
that mean?
Does
Like,
the
can you?
gamepad connect to your Wii? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's like, and so there was like that was just like a major misstep, but it was also,
yeah,
but all that being said, is that like anytime I hear like, oh, the video games market is sort of crashing, it's gonna blah blah
mhm,
blah. I'm like, no. And it's always like, because Microsoft is doing X, Y, and Z. Microsoft has not successfully navigated that space.
sure, yeah,
That's why they're doing X, Y, and Z,
yeah,
because they lost. Like, and it's like, I'm not trying to be a console fanboy or whatever. Like, sometimes I hate all of them equally.
sure,
Sometimes I love all of
yeah,
them equally. And here's the
yeah,
thing: I wanted Xbox to succeed. I
mhm,
want a strong third player in that market. It
yeah,
keeps, at the very least, it keeps Sony honest.
uh-huh,
But Xbox's gambles didn't pay off.
right,
And that's all there is to it. And it's like, I'm not trying to like beat a dead horse. And it's like, so when people are like, the market's collapsing, well, maybe, and it definitely needs some correction. There's a bit of a bubble, and it sounds like a lot of these
right,
companies, like, we see the layoffs, and there's all this sort of like doom and gloom, and everybody's like, the layoffs are them sort of righting the ship.
yeah,
It's like the closures are them sort of looking at like, all the closures at Microsoft over the last year. Dude, they just spent $70 billion acquiring one of the biggest third-party publishers to become they themselves the biggest third-party publisher.
yeah,
There's going to be a lot of redundancies. There's going to be a lot of projects that just aren't going to bear fruit. And especially when you're that big and you're that investor driven, like, listen, if it ain't going to make money, Like, I'm sorry, you're not going to see Penniman anymore. You're not going to see Keeper from Double Fine. Like, I think a lot of that stuff's going to go the way of the dodo, and it's going to be like, does it move 10 million units? And it's like, and if it doesn't, now I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that with all of this sort of figured out that they actually do, because I think that's one of the things that actually Sony kind of dropped the ball on, is that it kind of became, we got to chase the big spectacle. It's got to be like, it's got to do Uncharted numbers. It's got to be The Last of Us. It's got to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right? Don't even get me started on the licensing costs for Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2 wasn't even Spider-Man, but yes,
But yeah, and it's like, those games can move 30 million units and they still didn't make enough money because you're
Right.
paying Marvel Disney,
Yeah.
Disney, $250 million out the gate for licensing rights. Jog off. That's stupid. Anyways, it just makes me, Disney just ruins everything. But
Yeah.
all that being said,
it's interesting. There's been a lot of missteps, and I agree. It is, part of it's the market kind of recorrecting itself. It is going to be interesting to see where things go, because I do think in a lot of ways video games are doing well. We've talked about even this past year multiple times about how we want to see budgets get smaller, and really more. Yeah, you don't need. Yeah, the huge budget.
not every game
Games
needs
like
to
that.
have
Yeah.
a budget that has hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
Like,
Right. So
most games probably shouldn't have that big a budget.
right.
I
Yeah,
think
'cause
of
that's a huge gamble.
I think of, like, we've had some really interesting stories that challenge the narrative that kind of budget is necessary.
Mhm.
I think of Expedition 33.
Yeah.
I think of Hades 2. I think of Silk Song. I think of, hold on. I think of, like, The Dispatch, that game that just came out. The Telltale style game. Like these games are like, there's a lot of smaller, more independent, sort of like smaller budgeted stuff that's actually challenging the narrative. Now, that being said, I still want the big honking AAA spectacle from time to time. Like, I don't need it all the time though, And so,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, what was a Nintendo first party game? Just ZA,
Oh, yeah.
like a
Pokemon?
$12 million budget,
Yeah.
and it's like, dude, like here's the thing, is like, in some ways, Sony needs to be a little bit more like Nintendo. Like, it's kind of what needs to happen. It's like, I think like the console space, like, or Nintendo's doing it best. Like, I don't always love their stuff or love their output,
Sure. Yeah.
but they're doing it best. They're scaling slowly. They're scoping games wisely. They're budgeting appropriately. And yeah, I mean, now also, like, Japan is a different economy than the West. So that's,
Sure.
probably don't have people. Anyways, all that being said, the rumors of the industry's demise, I think, are greatly overstated.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it couldn't happen, like, but what I'm saying is I don't think it will, and I don't think it'll happen like that. Now, I do think some of Clayton's and this is like going back to the Inside Incident, I do think some of his concerns are worthwhile, and there are things that, frankly, I'd love to see happen, but I don't think,
Don't think we're in for a collapse anytime soon. Yeah.
No, I just, I
agree.
don't, and I think, like, listen, I think if there is a collapse, it's going to be because everything collapses.
Sure. Right.
It's not just going to be the video game industry.
Yeah, because I don't
it.
want to take a long time on this, but I have been amazed too, just at how well console releases have done. PS5 and Switch 2 in particular, they are expensive, and they continue to sell very well. even in uncertain economic times. Now, like I said earlier, hey, you can divide the things. Yeah, okay, it's primarily older people, or maybe it's people who don't really have the money to spend, and so maybe there's some bad practices there.
So
There's a number of things, but
and here's something just like, and this is mostly anecdotal. And I can't point to a source, but I remember hearing several reports and reading several things back in the Depression, or 2008, 2009, 2010, when we were going through a bit of a recession,
Yep.
not a depression, but we weren't really going through a recession. But actually spending on video games ticks up. Spending on recreation during hard times actually ticks up.
yeah,
So like spending on movies, on music,
movies I know did really well during that time. Yeah,
and
sure.
I think video games you look at the recession again in the sort of the late aughts.
Okay.
I think actually video game spending went up.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I remember hearing something there. Again, I didn't do the research to actually verify that.
Sure.
But I think like those were years where like other industries kind of took a hit. And I think the strength is that like video games offer like hours of entertainment for a relatively like economically like
Yeah.
dude, you pay $20 for a movie ticket, $15 for a movie ticket, or you get like a matinee, right? And you pay like 5 or 10, right? You're still in there for 2.5 hours tops.
Yeah.
Like, and
that's
you're
if you don't get a soda or popcorn or anything
you
like
don't
that.
get concessions. There's another $20. So you're in it $50 for a couple hours, just say you do all the things and you go at a regular, show.
Yeah.
You're in it for $50. $50 will get you 30, 40, 50 hours of video games sometimes. So,
right.
especially
Yeah.
if you play them deeply, like a psychotic completionist nut job. I know. Of course, I know.
Happens to be a Pokemon game.
He's me.
Of course, I know him. He's me.
He's me. Hello there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyways,
love it.
That being said, yeah. So like I said, and I don't want to I don't want to sound just completely hostile here, but it's like I think all of the talk about like change and concern, I think it's legitimate. Like if you love video games, like you should sort of. I think there are reasons to be concerned, to be a little bit worried. But it's like, and again, I think the rumors of the industry's demise have been exaggerated. Like, it's just like, I don't think it's that dark. And I don't think it's like something where it's like, we're on the precipice of doom. And if we don't make radical changes, like, I think it's just like, yeah.
If I can use a movie analogy, which may not be the best because the Hollywood is burning right now. I think even in the age of TikTok, do you remember last year when there was Barbenheimer, where you had right up against each other these two movies? One is a popcorn cotton candy movie that people went and saw just for the nostalgia, and the other was a deeper 3-hour epic. And I haven't seen either movie,
Nolan?
but I'm saying, what's that? Yeah, Christopher Nolan. Mm-hmm.
And then
both of those existed.
Greta Gerwig for Barbie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Both of those existed and did really well in the age of TikTok. And I think that
beside each other.
Right. I think that video games can do that as well. It might not be the same cash cow, but I think it can. Yeah.
I think sort of something I didn't touch on, but I think the problem is that so in movies, tons of movies release every year, tons.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of them don't do well.
Right.
I think video games, the video game industry actually has a really similar problem. Is that you're actually getting more games released every year. Like just
for sure.
Like in the time we've recorded this episode, there's probably been 50 games.
2,000 games have been released on Steam.
But like daily, like dozens, hundreds of games are being released and made.
Yeah.
the problem is that it's the good ones are the ones that make money, and there's just and like not even just the good ones, but like the great ones, and those are your massive successes. And I think like
Yeah.
it's just really hard to. But yeah, when you do get those, like you do get those like moments now. Like I mean, Hades 2, Silk Song, Expedition 33. Like, hold on, I'm just gonna like I'm I'm just gonna pull up. I feel like I just want to like um
What, the best games of the year?
yes, just 25 game releases. I just kind of want to look at it because some of these have probably been like pretty like one. Yeah, I should have muted my mic. Oh well.
Split Fiction.
Except all whatever. Yeah, Split Fiction did pretty well. I'm just oh my gosh, I forgot how much I hate Dynasty Wars Origins. I think that it did pretty well. Animal or Monster Hunter Wilds, Final Fantasy 7. Well, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, whatever. I don't know how that did. Come on now. This is but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that like if you were to look at all the games that came out in 2025, you'd see there's a good bit of stuff that has sold fairly well. There's also a lot of stuff that hasn't really moved the needle, and that's not because it's a bad game or anything. It's just it's that market's becoming a lot more competitive. And
Yeah.
so I think that's part of it. But it's like, yeah, you're going to have stuff that's selling tens of millions of units. And then you're going to have stuff that might sell 1 million. And then you're going to have other stuff that might sell 10,000 copies. And so, but there's, I mean, I'm just kind of looking at this list and, you know, like some of the Assassin's Creed Shadows did pretty well for itself. MLB The Show always does pretty well. Enough that it sold enough that when the MLB went to Sony and said you're going to publish on Xbox or we're going to revoke your license here or your licensing rights, they went ahead and did it because they like that money.
There you go.
But yeah, there's, I mean, oh dude, it's nuts how long this list is. There's a lot of stuff on here that probably sold just fine.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. That was a smaller sort of Ubisoft thing. Yeah, it's I that's what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I think it is more like that. And so we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I think his like, and this is just speculative. That's
Right.
the thing. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
It's
I'm speculating.
It's fun to think about it. It's interesting to see kind of, you know, the tide coming in.
Because the reality is if this all goes away, none of it matters. Like, it'll be fine. It will be like, and I'm not saying that it doesn't really matter, but like in the long term, it's like, it's not to say that video games are completely inconsequential because again, you know, there's a bit of an art form there.
Right.
But like, you know, the video games are additive. They're not necessities.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah,
I agree. Well, this has been fun to kind of kick around these things, to think about the future, to see, you know, these things that are going on as well.
I just you say it's been fun. I just need people to calm all the way down, like all the way down. Like, quit being little chicken littles. The sky's not falling. It's fine. It'll be just fine. And maybe I'm the dog sitting in the flaming house burning down around my ears.
This is fine.
This is fine. This is fine. It's fine. No, but anyways, yeah. No, it has been fun. But Yeah, I think it's time to as our friends and patrons are so fond of reminding me that I say this a lot apparently. I think it's time to
Mhm.
land the plane, Josh.
Yep.
I
There
say it
you
a
go.
lot because it's a bit, you nitwits.
Before this plane gets landed, though, we do have a few more forms because this isn't our final form. The next form that we
No.
observe on the podcast now that we've done our kind of main topics is our community shout outs. So I wanted to shout out I Cost Ya, and this is actually for an older post that I had just now seen recently in the I believe it's the things that we're listening to and rocking out to. There's a channel on Discord for that. I don't recall exactly what it's called off the top of my head, but he shared it's an Instagram post by the drummer of Mute Math, at least back when they were together. They're not a band anymore. And his name is Darren King. He is just an absolute sick drummer. But he did this cover. He recorded this cover of the I think it's like the music from the Kingdom of Zeal. I could be wrong, but a track from Chrono Trigger. And of course, it's in the style where there are a bunch of boxes on screen, and he's playing all the different instruments and playing it
Mm.
together. And it's just an awesome cover, but then he starts coming in with the drum kit, and dude, this drummer is amazing. He makes a small kit sound enormous. He's just he's a crazy drummer in general. So anyways, Akostya shared that, and it didn't get any love in the Discord. But I did drop some emojis when I saw it because, man, it just blows my mind.
Dude,
So
post the links
shout out
in
to you,
the
sir.
show notes. Post the link in the show notes. What is it?
Yeah,
The things you'll see?
I will do that. Yes. Is it things you'll see? I don't remember exactly. But I do have a link for it, and that will be in the show notes. So check that out while you're also, checking out the other stuff that we have linked down there. So that's my shout out. Way to go, I cost you. It's good stuff.
I'm gonna give, and I know that we just had him on, but I'm gonna give him a bit of a shout out. Wesley, he's in our league, and I love his optimism in the face of his crushing defeat. I love that he thinks he has a shot at sort of removing me from number one. It's like, son, So I want to say, shout out Wesley, shout out for being such an optimist.
Yeah.
I'm
There you go.
glad that like reality can actually dissuade you from your delusions. So shout out, good for you, bud. Good for you.
Wow. Wow.
That was like
That
the meanest shout out I've ever.
smarmiest, like exact opposite of what we want to do with community engagement.
Yep.
Love it. I
It's
love
like,
it.
listen, you come trying to start something. You're gonna catch something.
Yeah.
But
Oh, we might catch something from this guy too, because
Here comes a new challenger!
oh man, new challenger.
he
So
needs to wash
we
his hands.
we talk about challenges.
I saw what he was doing before he got here.
Okay.
He was in the bathroom.
Gotcha. Why is that challenging? I'm so confused. I don't know what that
I'm
has
just
to do
saying
with
that's
anything.
before he came here to challenge us. He's in the
Gotcha.
bathroom. He needs to wash
Yeah.
his hands.
Yeah.
Don't be a
Every
dirty
time.
degen.
Every time.
Every time.
Do it. Wash your hands. Anyways, we like to challenge each other with challenges. So once a month,
Or ourselves.
Yes, that's true. We like to challenge ourselves and then stay accountable to those challenges by talking about it here on the podcast. My challenge last month was to play through a co-op game with my son, and I haven't done any of that. So I failed at my challenge, and I am not very accountable. So
How
I don't
dare
even know
you?
what to say for myself. Yeah. I'm sure there will be a lot of co-op playing while I'm in Texas. So hopefully, I mean, we're going to have fun. That's all I can say. But I have heartily failed that challenge. And so moving on to the next challenge is something that I have been wanting to do for a few years, and I've never just sat down and taken the time to do it. I want to finally write up my own personal top 100 games list and finally throw that together for something. I think that would be fun to have by the new year. So that's my challenge going forward.
Good
What
luck
you
with
got?
that, buddy.
Yeah.
So my challenge, I talked about the kettlebell routine, and it was like, hey, stay. Well, one, I got the -10. I got that last
You
episode, and
did.
then
Yes.
immediately squandered that. I was like, I hit it. I did it. Now we quit
No
it.
more. Oh, yeah, there you go. like that.
No, but I do want to get back to -10. I don't know if I will by the end of the year. We'll see. We'll see. It's not
Yeah.
likely, but maybe. But it was like the challenge that I've sort of put forward for myself for the time being is to get sort of back in shape, to get in better shape.
Sweet.
And it was like to do the kettlebell workout. I was going strong with that for like a week and a half.
Nice.
Like I'd done it like 3, 4, 5 times, something like that. Right. And then my son has a seizure. And so
Yeah.
that
Changes
kind of
things.
like everything just went out the window at that point where I was just like, so I need to get back into that. I need to sort of like get back and just like, and again, like I think part of like the hard part with that though, and this is what I will say, is that like you kind of have to start at the very bottom. Like
Sure.
I was doing this very routine, the one that I like at like 20 to 25 pounds with frequency,
Okay.
like fairly easily. And it's like, and to have to like start all the way at the bottom, like
Yeah.
to where it's like, I'm doing it with like 10 pounds and I'm doing this routine. And it's like, and it's killing me. Now, one, it's also a high intensity interval, like workout kind of thing where it's like,
Okay.
you do a set and you just kind of like blow through that set fairly quickly, take a 30-second break, take a minute break. Then you go through that set again fairly quickly. You do that 3 times. And by the time you're all done, you're like, okay, I've been moving a lot for the
Yeah.
last 30 minutes. I'm tired. And then you're adding, anyways. But that being said, so I do need to get back into that. And it's like, I think now that things have sort of stabilized, that we have a seizure response plan in place, that
Sweet.
we actually were approved for his rescue medication. So in case he does
Awesome.
have a seizure that lasts longer than 5 minutes. So it's like now that like all those pieces are here, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, like this week and then especially like Thanksgiving week, like I'll be home, every day. So it's like at that
Yeah.
point in time, like I can really sort of like put in the work. But yeah, so it's like,
Sweet.
it is like, hopefully next time we do sort of an update challenge, I can be like, hey, I was consistent. Sort of, I've been able to get up to X weight or whatever. But,
Yeah. Awesome.
so yeah, that's going forward. It's just, I am going to like say on that same page, but like I said, I'm just kind of stoked that I did hit the -10 this year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
So
Awesome,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, that was actually our final form. Was our challenge.
Well, kind of. I mean, Josh, we should probably tell them like if they want to get a hold of us, where can
That's
they do
true.
that?
Yeah, if you have some thoughts on kind of the future of games and its impending collapse in on each other, and if you want to read the tea leaves and say both the day and the hour of the collapse of the video game industry, we'd love to hear it. And I mean that sincerely. We love to hear any comments that you have, like the comments that we've read even on the show today. There's tons of places you can reach out to us. We've got, email, but we've also we've talked about the Discord, we've got a Facebook group, all that stuff. You can find links to that on our link tree, which is easily found at linktree.com/the backlog breakdown.
Yeah. So yeah, you want to tell me how wrong you think I am? That's okay. I keep receipts, and when I'm right, I will circle back around. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
we'd love
know.
to hear from you. But,
I don't pay
we'll
any
also
sort of
hold it
attention to
over
that
you.
nonsense at all. I'm just like,
Like the
again,
sword of
it's all
Damocles.
speculative. So like, yeah.
Nice.
It's like, but yeah. Well, I think this was a fun little sort of like deviation from our fairly recent sort of routine.
Yeah.
It was good to get back into a more topical episode. It
Mhm.
was fun to talk about the industry. sort of where it could be going, where it has been, like all those things. So
Yeah.
But that being said, I've done the things, you've done the
Mhm.
things. So until next
Yeah.
time, what should they do?
Guys, keep beating down your backlogs and we'll keep breaking down the benefits.
Let's watch.